Welcome, everyone. We'll give it just a couple moments, let people make their way into the webinar. If you would like, you can look right about here. There's a chat feature. If you want to pull that up, change the from host and panelist to everyone. And if you'd like, you can share out who you are and where
Mm.
you're from. And if you'd like, share a little bit about yourself, like what subject area you teach in, or what your role is um, at your university or college, and that way everybody can get to know who all is here. Wednesday afternoon. I know East Coast is 2 o'clock. A lot of people recovering from lunch, trying to stay awake. So,
Mhm.
hey, Alex, been to several of our webinars. Good to see you here. We'll go ahead and get started. Got a really fun webinar today that we're going to be hosting. What makes it really fun is this is actually one of the first times I've ever done a webinar. I don't know if we've ever had one with Harmonize, but we actually got a student who agreed to join us, and I'll let our guest introduce her student here in a little bit. But this is going to be a really interesting webinar because we're going to get to hear a little bit from the perspective of the student as well as what Sara is doing in her classes. Today's webinar is being sponsored by the USDLA, U.S. Distance Learning Association. So thank you, USDLA, for sponsoring this. And today's webinar, I want to make sure I get the name right. I always have to look at these things. Enhancing engagement through UDL. So, Universal Design for Learning is a very big concept that we've heard a lot, and a lot of our users talk about the ability to implement UDL so easily with Harmonize. But today we're going to be talking more about what exactly is happening in the classroom with Sara, who is our guest today. Sara is with us from Russell Sage College up in New York, and I'll let you give more of an introduction to yourself, Sara.
Thank you, David. Hi, everybody. I'm Sara Schumann, and I am the Gen Ed Core Coordinator at Russell Sage College up in New York. We have two campuses, one in Troy and one in Albany. Yeah, and I can't wait to introduce you to my student. But first, I'll tell you how I know Destiny. We were in two courses together. So I coordinate and teach a series of three courses in our Gen Ed. So I'm the coordinator of the three courses. The first course is called RSC for Russell Sage College 101. And that's a first year experience course where students basically get some foundational skills to be successful in college. And then the second level course is called RSC 201, and it's called Intercultural Perspectives. And that's a course where we look at the identities, we learn more about ourselves and interacting with others. It's a communication type course. And then the third level is called Innovating to Impact Your Engagement with the Community. And this is our capstone Gen Ed course. It's interdisciplinary. All the different majors are part of this course, and they have to take it to graduate, all the three courses actually, unless they transfer in. And they go out and do a service project out in the community. And so we love our courses. We're super proud of them. They make us unique. And I was fortunate enough to have Destiny in my class for two of the courses. I don't know who you had for 101, but she was in my second level course. And then she followed me to 301. And we've really enjoyed I don't know, I've really enjoyed having her for a student. And so when I was asked to talk about my work with audio and video journals, I immediately thought of Destiny because she was, when I was first experimenting with using audio and video responses, she seemed to really enjoy it. And I felt like I got to know her better through her posts. So I just invited her to join us today. And so without further ado, Destiny, welcome. What can you tell us about yourself and then maybe what you thought of our
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
Hello everyone. My name is Destiny. I am a senior right now at Russell Sage College. I study graphic design. And as Sarah said, I did have her for two of my courses where we used Harmonize. And I would say overall Harmonize was just, it was definitely a different experience, but I would say it was something that I definitely enjoyed because it gives you kind of that connection with your teacher, especially if you're not really strong in writing. So having Sarah and then also having the platform as well, especially when I was transitioning from going from one college to another, I would say it was pretty easy and it was a really good experience overall.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Destiny and Sarah, for joining us today. Like I said, we're going to be talking about specifically how Sarah is implementing these UDL principles into her courses, both as an instructor and as the Gen Ed coordinator. Um, one of the things that we saw when I do a lot of research for our webinars, I go out and I look to see what we have instructors doing, and one of the things that just stuck out to me was the instructions that she was using in her courses that was directly allowing, I would say that's a key word, allowing the students the choice to use different platforms instead of just text. But then also the amount of use that her students were coming in and doing different video based responses or audio or image or a combination with text as well. And so there was a lot there that I wanted to learn and get to know, and I was able to speak with Sarah. And so once we kind of conversated, I said, okay, we got to share this out with everyone else. But I guess to start out is Sarah, if maybe you can explain what made you move to encouraging the students to use more video and image and UDL principle, multimodal, all these words we hear going around. Like, what was it that moved you to get into that realm?
For sure. I have so many answers to that question, so I'll try to start slow. Well, first of all, I'll tell you how I first heard it was even possible. So in the second level course, students they go and listen to different speakers, and I asked them to do a reflection and connect to course material, that kind of thing. And I tried to make it fun. It's the end of the semester project. I'm like, how to make this fun? I'm like, you can do some art. You can write an essay, what do you want to do? Well, I had two students say that they wanted to do a podcast. And I was like, whoa, first of all, two students wanted to work together. I didn't say this, you must work with somebody. They wanted
Right.
to work together. And then they said, we want to do a podcast. So I was like, sure, this sounds amazing. But then, so they made a fantastic podcast. They did it, I think, on YouTube or something. But they told me, well, Sarah, I don't know how to upload this. Like, we made this video, it's not going to work in your submission tab. Like, what do we do? And I just said, okay, just, share it over email, right? Well, then later on, I heard some conversation with colleagues. Somebody was saying, well, if you use Harmonize, they can upload videos. And I was like, what? What? Like just upload a video for a response? And they're like, yeah, it's so easy. Why don't you try it? So that's what got me started on this journey. I found out that it was possible. And then I started experimenting. I thought, okay, well, why not say, because these are not writing classes, they're self-reflective classes that are in person. So we do a lot of our work, they're seminar style. Our work is done in the classroom, and I want them to reflect on what we've seen and heard and read. But it's not so much that I have to grade them on grammatically correct responsible responses, although that is a good thing, and we do sometimes do writing. But in any case, it seemed like, okay, why don't I try altering the format and maybe it'll be fun. Sometimes responses were getting stale. I thought I'm just going to try and see how this goes. And students started choosing it. And, Destiny, like I said, like, anytime there's an option, I think you mostly used audio. Sometimes you do
Yeah.
video. And I was blown away. The conversations, how much the students were saying, so much more was coming out when they could speak rather than just, do the writing. So that's one of the reasons how I fell into it. And then I started, getting some success with it. And then I just kept developing more ways to incorporate it once I found out that students actually liked it.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Destiny, so I want to kind of get your some input here. So when you came into the class and you had for the first time taking it with I don't Miss Schumann or
Sarah, they
Sarah.
just call me
Sarah,
Sarah.
they just call me Sarah. So
Mhm.
you get to meet Sarah and you're going to be doing this class. What were your reactions to seeing these assignments that offered these options?
Well, first, I will be honest, I didn't see the audio record option first. So I was like, okay. It was more so journals. And I was like, okay, like I've done journals before. It's writing. I'm like, okay, it kind of, but it gets repetitive. It's like, because I remember they were kind of they were once a week or twice a week. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, like it's writing. But then I would say after a few entries, I saw the audio option and I was like, wait a minute. Like I would say I enjoyed, talking out loud. I like to process words. I love to talk a lot. So guilty in that. So I was like, wait, that's like an opportunity to express myself and kind of, having that opportunity of having a conversation going, kind of just showing how I approach things and also including emotion as well. So it's not just you don't have like this robotic voice in your head, just like telling you what you think. So it was really nice. It was really personable. And I would say doing it overall, it was a nice experience and it was different too. That's what I would agree with in RSC 201 and 301 that it was different and it made me put that class apart from the others because it was more engaging and there was that opportunity to express yourself in any shape or way for your ideas.
Well, I can also, I mentioned this before we started. I've got a son who's 18. And so I've got a lot of insight from a personal level. You know, our generation, speaking for Sarah, I'm pretty sure me and Sarah are from the same generation. Um, we grew up in a world that's different. And I think today's generations, especially Generation Z, like you guys grew up with, cell phones and the computer and online and communicating. You can drop a voice note and send it to somebody via Snapchat or just do a voice note on your text message on your iPhone or whatever. And so I would imagine that this probably allowed you to communicate more the way you naturally communicated. Is that a fair statement to say?
Oh, definitely. It's doing that. It felt exactly as you said, like a Snapchat voice memo or something. It felt organic. So that's why I really appreciated the feature as well, because I was just like, wait, I already kind of do this with my friends. Obviously, I got to be a little bit more professional and gather my thoughts together, but it's like still, it felt so organic. And that's why I really loved the feature. And I just kept on doing it.
So, Sarah,
Mhm.
I know you said that you saw it, you started experimenting with it, but what were some of the outcomes that you saw? Because, a lot of times we see things and we think, oh, let's try this out. We don't keep using it because sometimes an experiment goes wrong. It doesn't work out the way you want it to. But what outcomes did you see from the students that maybe made you want to continue to use this option?
Well, I think one of the things is that it's just so much personality came through when they were talking and voicing their responses. I felt like there was so much energy and excitement and making connections. One student one time was reflecting on an event and then she brought in going to the art gallery and how that connected. And I wasn't asking for them to make these connections. And as Destiny said, like things were seemed to be happening organically and the excitement and the enthusiasm was there. Wasn't always getting that from the written responses. And with the advent of ChatGPT, that was becoming to the point where every assignment I was feeling, I know I'm exaggerating, but a lot of assignments felt like they were, AI generated. They were losing that voice that I just, love to hear, that student voice. And so I found this to be a deterrent. Now, I mean, I've had students tell me, well, we're just going to make a script off AI and read it and then, do an audio or a video. So I get that it's still possible, but even if they do that, they're reading it and I don't know, it's more than just copy pasting it, something's
Right.
going through. So I think that that success of the more engagement, and then the very obvious thing too is that since these aren't writing courses, and believe me, I'm a writer. I believe writing is your thinking, and I would prefer writing over speaking, I think, anytime because I love that process of revision. But many of the students that don't want to connect and find it challenging or don't want to write, sorry, not correct, they don't want to do that writing and it's laborious or it's hard. And so this took away that piece of it. That challenge of writing gets erased when they can, speak or video themselves with their responses. So all of those things put together just made, I don't, it made everything a little bit more exciting and engaging. So that kept me wanting to go for more. And then once I started reaching out to Harmonize because I wanted to try some things, I needed some help with things. I got some advice about what I could do because I was saying, well, I'm, commenting after every post and, I'm getting bogged down and they're like, well, have you thought, because I was making the assignments private, so you can have the assignment, their post
Yep.
to be teacher to student, or it can be students to students. So I was doing everything as a private response. And so the folks told at Harmon, I said, well, why aren't you just letting them talk with each other? And I said, well, it's an in-person course, they're talking with each other in class. I'm like, have them talk to each other online, have them comment. You're going to boost engagement and excitement. And I was like, whoa. So that was groundbreaking for me. And now I'm seeing the results of that. And I couldn't be more pleased because students are saying things to each other. They're getting ideas from each other. That wouldn't have happened in class because in class they wouldn't have shared. But,
Yep.
here they have to do an assignment. They have to post something. They have to post before they can see other posts. So, now I'm like doubly hooked because we're getting that engagement double. It's not just between me and the student. So yeah, I don't think when I had you, Destiny, I don't think I had open posts, but now I do. And the students love it.
It's so interesting that you say that, and I'm going to tell a little bit of a personal story. And if my son sees this, he'll get mad at me. But it was his going from his junior to senior year in high school. I was really worried about him because he had gotten his license, and I'm thinking back to when I'm a kid, and like when I got my license, I wasn't home, right? Like I got a car, I was gone every night, I was out, and he would get home from school, he'd go to his part time job or whatever, and he would just stay at home all the time, and I'm like, oh man, do you not have friends? Do you not are you not going out and doing things and hanging out? And he kept saying, "No, Dad, we just like I talk to my friends. We just do it all online. We do it on our phones." And I'm thinking they're probably not really good friends because they would be hanging out in person if they were. First day, or not first day, but that time before you start school, they have like the open house, and the parents you go in with your kids and everything. And we went in for a senior year, and it's the senior year, everybody's happy. I couldn't go 5 steps without people going, Zach, hey man, how you do? Oh, how you doing? And I'm going, you got friends? Like I did not realize he was so popular and so connected to all these different people. Today's kids don't need that in person, and they're often scared of the in person. Not to put words in your mouth, Destiny, but or anything. But they can be. They're more nervous in person. They can be more natural. They feel freer to speak in person. Did you feel that way, Destiny? Did you feel like, having the ability to do this for an in-person class, but doing it online helped bring out some part of you that maybe was going to be more, not impossible, but harder maybe for you to come up with the courage sometimes to be able to raise your hand and say, okay, I'm going to input this here now in the middle of class.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say I was relatively a very shy kid. So it was just, that barrier of like, oh wait, I have all these ideas, but I'm afraid to say them out in person or say it out in loud because, but having that ability to just like be by myself, be in the comfort of like a space like my home or like my dorm, and then just being able to say like, click the button and just like use it as a feature that I'm already organic to. I was just like, it's good because like it's different. There's not the pressure. Sorry, my cat's right over here. There's no pressure. There's no judgment or sort of way. Like it's just a safe space where I could really just say the ideas I want to say that we learned in class.
And you kind of already alluded to this, Sarah. Like you're getting more participation in class, even though they're there, they can talk anyway. But you're using discussions and assignments to where they're sharing ideas in different ways. That's actually increasing the amount of in-person participation.
I do. I think so for a couple of reasons. First of all, in my service class, my students go out in the community and read books to kids. And so we keep a service learning journal. And so one of their assignments is, well, talk about what you did to introduce the book or talk about how you checked in with your student or what worked with this book, what didn't work. And so then the other students are popping in and getting ideas. And so then they can, if they heard a check-in that worked, then they're going to try it. So to me, and they might not necessarily have shared that in class. And lots of times, when actually always when I read assignments, I pull out ideas and share them whole group. So I would still be doing a fair amount of that, but I feel it meant more hearing about it directly. The students are hearing about it directly from each other. So it's another layer. So if they're not listening to me in class, they still have another way to get the material. And also if they're absent or whatever, they can still get ideas. And I'll even tell them if you want extra credit points, show, do more online commenting, like show that you're interacting with your students that way if you have absences or whatever. So that can be really helpful, I think. And then I wanted to say too, it really helps me as an instructor to do and it probably helps students too. I have them do a welcome post, and this I did always make for all eyes, where the students will, and I ask them, please do a video so we can really get to know, we can attach names to face, get to know each other. And then what I would do is go back and be able to look at the video. I could check to see if I was pronouncing someone's name right. If they wanted to share pronouns, there it was. I could check because I don't remember things. I'm 55 years old. I can remember everything, but to be able to go back in and see those videos was helpful. And I think the students enjoyed that. I don't know if I did that in your class, Destiny. You were like when I was just starting. I don't know if I had the welcome post yet, but um, I find that as a good way to start to build community right away. And we have a sample one if you want to share that, Dave.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that and we can show. And this is kind of, I think another thing this also shows is the way that you kind of can get to know the students, which from a text-based perspective, as you said, you're a love to writer, you love to write and you love text, but there are certain things you can't see, right? Like as soon as we got on today, I said something to Destiny. Oh, I love that background. You put the books on the wall. That's really neat. Like that let me know she probably loves reading. That gave me some insights that maybe I wouldn't have gained if I just read the text from her. And so I think that that really is crucial. Was this the name archive? Was that the one you
Yes.
want?
Hmm.
Okay, good.
Hi, my name is Samira Safadine. My major is biology, and the way I want our classroom culture to be is like filled with respect. So when people are talking, everyone is listening and just being considerate of others. And what I don't want it to be is the opposite. So people not listening when someone is talking, and yeah.
Awesome. So I just want to make sure that I say this real quickly in case anybody's worried. We did get permission. You had gotten
Yes.
permission from all the students and asked if anybody was willing to be okay with sharing some of their samples. Um, so we did get permission from
Yeah.
her before we shared that. What were some of the things you took away from that video? Like just watching it again right there, like what are some things that you got that maybe you wouldn't have gotten from a text based?
Well, first of all, it's like the assignment is what do you want the classroom culture to be? So I'm giving them a sort of a, to me, deep question, and I like to just see how they handle it. And I see a student who's confident. She's read the question. She's ready to share. She's looking straight at me. Like there's a lot that I gained, and actually, I'm going to remember her name more just by watching that video than if it was just a written, "Hi, my name is," and this is what I want the culture to be. So yeah, it helps me right away to make that connection if I can start getting the names right and associating names with face. And I asked her afterwards when I was getting permission for the video, I'm like, "Do you like using videos?" And I said, because I've noticed you've done videos since then, and she's like, "Yeah, sometimes I have to redo them because the noise in the background." And I'm worried about my sibling running by. And I said, well, I don't mind that, but you could always do audio. You don't have to do video. And she said, no, no, no. I like doing video. So I was like, oh, that's cool. But that conversation did show me for some students, that's a little stressful finding a quiet place. So if I say, I have had a couple where I've asked them, this has to be audio or video. And I'm realizing now, I guess I have my reasons for doing that because I don't want the writing and the plagiarizing in some cases. And
Yeah.
but in hearing that response, I realized, oh, I guess sometimes it's a little bit stressful for students, and I never want that. But they get through it, and the work is good. Mhm.
I'm just wondering, Destiny, and uh, Russell Sage uses Harmonize, um, I think throughout the entire college, as far as I know, different instructors.
Yeah.
But have you used Harmonize in other courses at Russell Sage Destiny? And if not, what would you think would be your advice to instructors that you were going to take, why they should use Harmonize? I'm just wondering if you would speak to that at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. So we do not,
Or
I
actually,
don't, oh,
let me
sorry.
back up. Not harmonize, but the use of video and audio reflections. I guess I should do that because I don't want to try to sell harmonize. That's not what
Oh
I
yeah,
want you to do. But yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I got you. So I only use Harmonize for the RSC courses, so not in my other courses. But I would say like giving advice to like instructors, I feel like, or teachers and stuff, professors, don't be afraid to use it because I feel like it's just another element that's really going to help students stick with the learning and keep engaging. So honestly, like with video and audio, I feel like no matter the class, like even like group discussions or something like that in a sense, um I feel like don't be afraid to use it. I feel because you never know what the feedback is going to get, but there's also the potential of like you're going to have a lot of like there's going to be students where it's going to feel more organic and you're probably going to uncover something about that student you never knew already because because some students are, I will be honest, they're more open behind a screen versus in person, as we said earlier. So really I would love it if some of my professors, especially in some of the courses I have, I'm like, if we had this, I feel like it would be much better and I would actually stay engaged. Not saying
Hmm.
I'm not already engaged, but just saying it would help. It would help. Yeah.
Sarah, what would so I mean you teach these types of courses, but we have users all over the place. I mean, I've got people who use Harmonize in auto mechanic courses and all these different types of things. But what would you say is like some of the key takeaways that you see from doing multimodal, UDL type based uh, building of assessments that you would say would apply to just about any subject matter area or any course?
So you're asking like how could it build in other courses? Well, I think any course where we're working on oral communication, it's going to help with that. So it's just and it helps students raise their confidence like before they have to do a presentation in front of an audience, if they try it for an assignment, sort of scaffolding up to it. So yeah, I do see lots of different ways that you could incorporate it. When you have writing, if you're able to have an option to do a recording, like Destiny said, some students are going to feel more comfortable with it, and yeah, it can be more interactive. So whenever you're looking for interaction, I guess, as well as being able to think aloud. So what I notice with a lot of students is, and I know this can happen with writing as well, but there's something about thinking aloud, going through your thoughts, and then, oh yeah, this is what I meant, the correcting that you can do. And I don't know, I see that as a really big plus, being able to do that. Yeah.
Saying to students, create a mind map. They go, ugh, right?
Yeah.
Explain your reasoning behind what you just submitted seems more natural. It seems more easy to kind of explain than to actually create something that's like a mind map or something like that to show your logic. Um, Speaking of which, we had a great question come in from Donna. And this is for you, Destiny. So she said, "What was your process for making your recordings? Did you plan it out, what you would say ahead of time, or was it more conversational responses?" And I guess that relates to the types of questions, Sarah, you asked.
Yeah, that is a great question. I would say it was a mix of both. So depending on the question that Sarah provided, if it was more conversational, I kind of just wing it because I'm like, okay, I'm already thinking pretty quick and I already like established like kind of what I want to say. So I kind of go along with it, but also like I would visibly like I remember like there was some audios where I was just like, wait, let me just back up on this one and then start off on a whole nother tangent. But then obviously for some other questions, that were more deep rooted or in like the books, definitely planned them out because I would just like have like bullet points and would be like, okay, let me just make sure I'm hitting these right. And then yeah, just bounce off of there.
Sarah, what do you, I just wondering, what was your reaction to her response?
Yeah, I see that. I know that some students prepare and some kind of wing it, but I can absolutely tell. And my prompts would be mixed. I would often ask for there to be a textbook
Mm.
connection. So actually that you have got the videos up. You could show textbook terms, that video. Here's just a quick example of a student who I can tell has done a little preparation with connecting to the text in her response.
Okay, let's
Mhm.
check that out.
The two terms from chapter one that I chose were hate speech and discrimination. So, hate speech is when you're using either symbols or words to discriminate against a group just based on their like religion, ethnicity, race, gender, and discrimination is targeting groups like that, except you're using actions. So, like, an example would just be not hiring someone for a job position like solely based on their race. And I would say the presentation deepened my understanding of these concepts because, I kind of realized that Jews weren't just immediately being sent away to work camps or labor camps and being killed. It obviously had to start somewhere, and it started with things like hate speech. Hate speech definitely can um, stereotype groups. Um, and obviously, when
Can I point something out here real quick? And
Yeah.
I this is something that I go back to. I've heard a quote about this from another one of our other webinar presenters earlier this year, and her comment to me was she loves to see the struggle or hear the struggle in her students' voices. And of course, that's not a negative thing. She's not talking about like physical struggle or thing. She's talking about the mental struggle. And I love how this is a great example. You'll see this student. I'm going to back it up just a little bit. And you see her, well, perfect point. If she is looking up, like she's almost looking into her mind to pull the information out, right? And you're seeing that she's actually recalling the information.
Hmm.
I can pick up on that. I'm not an instructor. I'm sure that's something you can pick up on. And you were speaking earlier, yeah, they could have ChatGPT write a script, right? But if you saw something like that where the student's constantly like looking up at clearly like she's trying to recall information, like you kind of get a sense, yes, she's recalling information. This isn't something that just ChatGPT wrote for her, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's so cool, David, because it's like, okay, I by listening and watching her think through this, the next time I see her, it's like I immediately remember. It's like we had that conversation. I'm like, Mia, you got a lot out of that Holocaust presentation, didn't you? And then we're having this grand follow-up conversation. Whereas if I had just read something, it would have might have been great, might have been awesome. I would try to have a follow-up conversation. But there's something about the video or the audio that makes it so real. And to me, it's like you're fostering not only engagement in the course, but our relationships are deepening over these interactions. And I mean, Destiny, when you used to be talking about different things, I'd be like, you go, girl. I'm like talking to you as I'm listening to you in my basement as I'm on my elliptical. And then when I see you, I'm like, yeah, girl, we talked about this. We had so much fun. That's, we developed a relationship through these online reflections. It's brought a joy to teaching to me that I love teaching anyway, but this just brings it up another notch because I'm getting to know my students even better, and I feel like it's fun. It's not drudgery. Oh, we got to write a reflection. Well, now we're going to post something and we're going to read other people's posts, and it's a lot more fun. So when you asked me to be on this webinar, I thought if this could just help one instructor have more fun, then it's going to be worth it.
well,
And students.
let's talk about this because this is something that I think is really important because we can always say, and let's just be honest, right? This is better pedagogy. This is better UDL. Um, but what's in it for me as the instructor, right? Like, how does this benefit me? And I think one of the things I hear a lot is from instructors, this breaks up the monotony because reading the same post or reading the same assignment from 30 students week after week after week becomes really monotonous and can drag on you. Where what you're saying is this actually uplifts your spirit. It makes you love interacting with your students a lot more than just reading, papers, right?
Right. And not to make it about me, I'm hoping that it translates to them, like they're having more fun and that they're getting to know each other better. And
Right.
they're feeling the support from me that I can come in and say, yeah, that post was amazing. Look at what you did. And same with their service. When students use this for their service entry, sometimes some things happen when they're out in the community and they've got to process it. And then, I hear it in their voice. They're able to, whoa, we had a stressful time. Students were misbehaving. Things come up. And like I said, I'm connecting and remembering that. And then right away in the classroom, that's the first thing I'm saying to them. It's like, hey, let's talk about what happened at your service. And they've already had a chance to unleash some of it. And then we can do the follow-up and more processing in the classroom. So I think it complements, you wouldn't think about using this in an in-person class, but I'm saying that it's definitely enhances that experience in my view, in my experience anyway.
In person, online, hybrid, flex. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it all. Where instructors are using this concept of multimodal UDL principles throughout everything. And I think some of it is being pushed. You mentioned this earlier, Sarah. You know, probably one of the reasons why you did gravitate to it is what you said earlier was trying to get away from the chat GPT, the AI usage, right? And so, yes, it's better pedagogically. I have this very passionate opinion that with accessibility being a big topic right now, with the new rollout of new accessibility requirements, that UDL just basically says, hey, accessibility should be for everybody. Everybody learns in different ways. It's not just learning disability, but learning different styles. It just gives better options to the students overall, is what I feel like I hear the most from instructors. And now I'm hearing it from students. Destiny, what was whenever you were going through the process of like coming up with things, and you said before, like sometimes you felt like you could prepare a lot, sometimes it was more on the fly. Um, what I'm wondering is, did it feel a lot like what you do on social media? Like, did you feel like sometimes that was correlating? Like, I should have asked you first. Do you use social media a lot? But I would imagine your age, you probably do. But do you see a lot like, I guess even reflection, haha, keyword there, like doing some reflection? Do you see a lot of what you do in social media kind of reflected in a class like this where you were asked to be more on camera and on video or on microphone?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say there's definitely a correlation with the video and audio. Like comparing that with social media, it's definitely a part. Like for example, like Snapchat, it's mostly photo, video, audio based. So like kind of thinking in a sense of like harmonizing just the feature, I was just like, it was pretty easy to and like reflecting back, it seemed easy because I'm already accustomed to that. And it's more fluid, it's more organic, as I said before. So yeah.
So on the flip side, Sarah, are you very social media savvy, or did you find this harder for you to adapt to than your students? I'm wondering that.
Oh, let's see. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a frequent, like, I don't post a lot or do a lot of that, but I text and stuff and I'm on media. So yeah, for me, I had to figure out how to upload this time. Once I figured it out, yeah, but then and I looked to get some support so that I could make it work out the best ways for my assignment.
Hmm.
So, but I'm naturally like that. I'm always looking to change things up, make it interesting, make it more authentic learning and more hands-on and more choices. So this just kind of brought together things that I wanted for my students. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah.
Well, I think that also speaks a lot. to as a compliment to you because you're not maybe more naturally suited to this type of stuff. But
Right.
I think it shows that you don't have to be able to implement this in your class and to allow your students to express their learning in ways that benefit them more so than even yourself, right? Like it was more,
Mhm.
like you said earlier, this was more about for them than it was for you.
Right. And they were asking for it. Like when they said they want to do a podcast, I was like, that's super cool. And they, if they want to do a video, like I said, they're doing this all day long. So I think I'm probably when I do my welcome video, I sometimes try retape like 3 or 4 times. And then I was like, I gave that up. I said, well, I'm just gonna even have my hair up and just be at home and let them see that side of me because I don't want them worrying about how they look in these videos. I'm looking for what they're saying. But I do understand that, that's a piece of it. But like some of the videos, just the students get very animated as they're talking, and I had a student who had a child. They were showing me the baby and saying, "Look, Sarah, not only am I reading out in the community, but I'm reading to this little one." And then we talked about that a lot. So like it's so much fun. I can't say that enough. I think that I want that to be the takeaway, that this is a way to boost engagement and to get those results that you're looking for. They're doing the reflective work that I'm asking them to do. They are doing it. You could see from that video, she's thinking about that presentation she went to and connecting it to the textbook terms. Like that's what I'm asking them to do. Some students have said, "Oh, it's a little hard to remember your prompt." Because sometimes I give really meaty things. So when they hit that record or whatever, they forget that prompt. But, that helped me to hear that feedback because now I can make suggestions, hey,
Hmm.
have a double screen. I mean, I do go over the prompts in class, but so that's not always what they're listening to. But again, to keep asking them, what do you like about it? How is it working? That helps me make it easier for them or better for them. And hearing what Destiny's saying just now, like I'm just taking note all the time of how it's going for them. And if I can't figure it out, then just get the support because either my school online tech people can help. They're amazing. The Sage Online is incredible. And then, or I always get instant help from you folks at Harmonize. And you're the ones that gave me the idea to make a month-long journal. I was making a new video journal every week, and they said, make it month-long. You post it, give them something different to do. I mean, it was revolutionary. It was like, whoa, now I have my assignments already up for the month. I wasn't that
Yeah.
organized before. So,
Right.
yeah.
I want to encourage everyone who's in the audience right now. If you have any more questions, please ask those in the chat. Or if you got a really detailed question, just raise your hand and I can bring you off of mute and let you ask directly. But kind of to wrap things up, I wanted to ask both of you, and this can be about Harmonize or just in general the process of doing um, you know, multimodal, multi UDL principles, video, audio, that type of thing. Um, what were some of the struggles? Because we've talked about all the glossy, here's how great it was, here's how wonderful it was. What are some things that you did struggle with? Even if you overcame them, what were some things that maybe you could tell people, hey, look out for these when you're starting to do this? Maybe from starting with you from Sarah on an instructor level, maybe Destiny, maybe some things that you learned as you went throughout the course and figured out, oh, I made this mistake early on and I had to fix it later. So Sarah, if you got anything you would think that you would share with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, the only thing I really think of is just the technical side of things, just, students just having trouble figuring out, maybe the first time use or expanding the screen or where to record. Like there was initially a little bit of startup, but issues like that we just troubleshooted, but they definitely fade away. So I guess I would say, expect maybe a little pushback at the beginning about it, but yeah, it definitely wasn't lasting. And like today when I asked for pros and cons about video audio, minimal cons. Like they're all saying it's great. We see expressions. It's easy. It's quick. I can think better. Like a lot of different things came up, and like the only negatives were really like background noise sometimes. Um, if you make a mistake, you need to restart. So again, that was really good for me to hear because I can say to them, hey, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is why we're doing this. You don't have
Right.
to worry about sounding perfectly. I'm just trying to get you to do that reflective work. So yeah, sometimes I think students think they have to do multiple takes or they have to be in a quiet place. So I think for me, doing this exercise was so good. I'm going to preface more talking about some of those things to kind of ease some of the burden. But, there's nothing wrong with things being a little bit difficult, and they need to be able to navigate technology for their future careers. I mean, it tells you a lot. If this is really putting them over the edge, then we've got to do some work because out in your real job, you're going to be doing things a lot more difficult regarding technology. So, yeah.
And especially if you want to work from home, which is one of the, like, you hear this a lot from the younger generation, like they want those work from home jobs. You got to figure that out when you work from home. Like, how are you going to navigate all of those different things that come up? Destiny, did you think of anything? I don't want to quite put you on the spot. Was there anything that you struggled with whenever you first started using this in this class?
Um, Going back to it, I would agree with Sarah. It was more so like technical things or just trying to figure out like the user interface for Harmonize and just expanding the screen overall. But yeah, it was just once you navigate it, it was easy and you get used to it. It's just trying to figure it out for yourself, as Sarah said, and just, navigating through all of that. So yeah, I can't really recall anything like too challenging for it.
Kind of like when you get a new phone and you're like, I don't know how to use this, but then before
Yeah,
you know it, you're
exactly.
like, I don't know how I didn't know how to use this in the first place.
Mhm.
Um, I experienced when I came to work for Harmonize, I had never used Apple products, and so I used iPhones and stuff, but not Apple computers. And I
Mhm.
thought, am I going to understand how to use a MacBook? And now I think, how did I not know how to use it? It's so like ingrained in me now. It's just, once it just takes a little bit of a learning curve, right? Like you pick it up eventually. So, but yeah. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. We're about 45 minutes in. Um, uh, any parting thoughts from either of you that you'd want to share out for people who are looking at maybe trying to make their courses more UDL friendly?
Mhm. I have a parting thought, but I'll let Destiny go first. But
Okay.
first, I should say thank you,
I would
Destiny.
say for my parting thought, definitely use it. Use Harmonize. Your
Okay.
students are gonna thank you, and if you give them that option for audio and recording, it's gonna be fun, and the like feedback and the outcome that you're gonna get, it's gonna be positive. I guarantee.
I did not pay you to say that, Destiny. So,
No,
but
he
thank
didn't.
you.
He didn't pay me. That's that's all experience right there.
And that's the thing. The students will tell you, you can experience, to me, everything is worth an experiment, right? You can try it and, the students will tell you if it's not hitting well. So that's what I want to say. But I just wanted to share just another way just to get creative with using audio video. So in our third level course, the students are doing their project out in the community. And then we have the students participate in what's called the 301 RC 301 showcase. So what they have to do is sit at a table. There's a big event. All the students in all the different sections get together. It's like a culminating big event. And Destiny remembers this. You sit at a table with students from other sections who took the course, and there's a facilitator and a community partner at the table. And the students are asked to give an elevator pitch. They're asked to introduce themselves, say their major, and say what they did out in the community for their service. They connect the skills they learned in the community to a career skill. So it's a really fun, big event. And so what I've always done is have the students prepare this elevator pitch ahead of time. So I would have them write it out, and then I would give some feedback, and then I would have them practice it with me in person before they go do it in front of people they don't know to prepare them. And the goal that we do this for, we're trying to get them to not only interact and to celebrate their service, which is a big part of service learning, but it's also to prepare them for future interviews and to be able to talk about themselves and be able to just raise their confidence in their skills and their abilities. And so once I started using Harmonize, and the audio and the video feature, now I've added another layer to this assignment. So first I get them doing a service post where they're just reflecting on their service like they always do. I say, okay, throw in a career skill. When you talk about what you did in service this week, talk about if you did some leadership or teamwork or critical thinking or just bring something in. So that's a first layer of the assignment. So we just completed that this week. And then now I assigned them to actually write a script, write it out, their introduction, their something they did in their service, talk about their major, whatever, their actual pitch, like write it out. And I said, and I'm going to give you some written feedback. And then I said, then what you're going to do is you're going to do an audio or video of it. So you just go through all those stages of revision, and then that's further practice for when you do this in person at the showcase. And after the audio or video, you're gonna share that, with your classmates, so you get some feedback and hear other people, learn from how they're expressing themselves, what to do, what not to do. Then you're going to practice it with me in class, and then you're going to go do your showcase. So can you see all those different layers built in there? They're super prepared. By the time they're going to be at the showcase, they're going to be confident. They will have done this routine, and then they'll be, able to sell themselves in an interview. But I just love that layer of having them do a post, audio, video post before they practice again with me. And it moves them away from having something kind of scripted and planned to something more natural and authentic. And so by having this feature, it's just adding these multiple layers to my assignment, starting with that really easy one. We've been talking about our service, now throw in a career skill. It's just so much fun. And I know with you, Destiny, I was just starting with the harmonize. I don't think I did that many layers for your work. But yeah, so that was my final plan. And that just was just using it over time. You get more and more ideas. So it's helping the
We
students, it's helping me, it's creative and it's fun.
I love that. And I go to a lot of conferences, and so much I'm hearing more and more about scaffolding and this idea of like really building upon different assignments and building that out through your course. And that's such a kind of another buzzword right now that you hear is the scaffolding of learning, and what you're doing. That sounds amazing. And yes, I can see as the student how that helps. You get more confidence, you build that up, and it's not like all of a sudden you're said, okay, go write an elevator pitch and go perform it. And that's the entire assignment. Now you're actually building them up along the process. And you're actually seeing the learning too, I would imagine, right? Like you're seeing how they're developing, if they're getting better. Do I need to give them a little bit more help if they're struggling in one area? You get to see that more hands-on. So
Mhm.
awesome. Well, thank you both so much. This has been a very fascinating webinar. I love that we finally got a student to be able to share their experiences. And Destiny, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate you. And Sarah, thank you as well. Thank you to
Yes, ma'am.
USDLA for pushing this out there. Um, this was very informative and enlightening. Thanks so much. And your thoughtful responses. And Destiny, your cat was charming. So no job there. Tracy said, great job, Sarah and Destiny. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll send out a recording of this to everybody who's registered for the webinar. And you can share this out to others as well if you think that they are interested in learning more about building out a UDL program in your courses. And I'm sure Sarah would not mind if you reached out to her if you had any questions.
Yeah, please do.
Knowing Sarah as I know her now, she seems very eager to share and to help others grow, especially her students. So thank you so much for your
Oh,
dedication in that. We've got more webinars coming up this month. We've got a webinar with it's going to be sponsored by OLC with Michael Wright from Florida International University. We also have an accessibility with EDUCAUSE that Marcus will be doing. Be on the lookout for some emails from us here at Harmonize. We'll send out some of those informations for more information on those webinars and how to register. And we'll have more instructors share as well. I've got another webinar coming up at the end of the month, and some in May as well before we get into that downtime in the summer. I will say, look out for us at the conferences. We do go to, I think we're going to 20 different conferences this year. So if you are going, be on the lookout. Go by the exhibit hall, see if Harmonize is there, and say hello to us if you can. So yeah. All right. Well, thank everyone so much again. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I'll give you a couple minutes back to your day, and happy harmonizing.
Thanks, David. Thanks,
Hey,
Thank you so
Destiny.
much, David.
Thanks, everybody.
thank you, Destiny.